Hi Flosstube friends, it's Sheri, the Colorado Cross Stitcher. Thank you so much for joining me today, and if you're coming back, I appreciate you coming to check out my latest Flosstube again. If you're new, this is my channel about cross stitching, mostly cross stitching. Once in a while I'll throw in something else. I made something else last time, so I'm going to show you that today. But I've got a whole table full of stuff. I don't even know how I'm going to reach all of it. So I'm really excited to talk to you about the things I've been working on and the things I'm going to work on and some haul. And so let's jump into it. All right, last time the question of the day was, do you use the called for threads, floss, and fabric when you work on projects? And thank you all who answered. It was so fun reading your comments. I always love reading your comments. And by the way, if you ask me a question, I always answer it in the comments instead of taking time in the video to answer. If you ever ask me a question and I don't respond, I somehow missed the comment. So ask me again, and I'd be happy to do that. But I have loved talking to all of you guys in the comments. You know, I said in my first Flosstube, one of the reasons that I started a Flosstube channel was to meet new cross-stitching friends, which I feel like I've done. And the other reason was to be motivated to, or held accountable to finish projects and fully finish some of my items, which so far that's working because I feel like I need to get stuff done for you guys every time I have a Flosstube. So that's been wonderful. So anyways, back to the question of the day for last time. So do you use the called for thread? Do you use the called for fabric? I hardly ever use the called for fabric because I don't have a large fabric stash, and I don't get to my local needle shop very often. It's about 45 minutes away. It's a wonderful shop in Greeley, Country Crafts. Sheri's the owner. And I love the shop. It's very encouraging, very inspiring and motivating, but I just don't get over there very often. So when I do shop in person at an LNS, I tend to stock up on fabrics that I like. So usually I just go to my small fabric stash when I'm making something new and pull something from that. I do not really frequently, I do sometimes swap out colors for threads. So I don't always use the called for threads, but that seems like a good place to swap things out. I was in the Victorian Model Sampler Thread Club, which is fabulous. If you have not been in that, I should bring one of those flosses to show you. You get a huge amount of floss for a very, very reasonable amount of money. And you can go to Victorian Model Thread, I'll link it below. And you have to email her to sign up. She doesn't have the kind of website that you can order on the website, but it's a fabulous club. The only reason I'm not in it right now, I did it I think for about 1.5 years, and then I just had so much thread and I wasn't being good about swapping things out and actually using it. So I'm trying to use it more so I can use some of it up and get back into it in a little bit. But it's a great deal. So, you guys who answered said, well, first of all, Deborah made the comment that during COVID and the lack of threads being available, a lot of us have had to swap out threads or fabrics, which is so true. And that's probably been good practice for us. But probably, let's see, about 2/3 of you say you do pick your own fabrics, so you don't always do the called for. Most of you use the called for threads. And of course, those of you doing Mirabilias and Heaven and Earth designs, you always do the called for threads because those are so stitch heavy that you shift one little color and it affects everything. So anyways, if you are not near an LNS and you have a hard time picking out fabric online, which I totally understand, I've noticed that 1, 2, 3 Stitch sometimes will give you the DMC equivalent to that particular color. So you can look up, if you have one of those thread charts or if you have the whole collection of DMC, you can look up that number in your stash and you can see what color the fabric is. That thread is going to match the fabric. And I found that super helpful when I have to order things online. But like I said, I do tend to stock up on fabric when I actually get to a shop. Okay, now let's talk about some progress. I've had the best time working on my Plymouth sampler. I know a lot of you guys are working on the Mayflower pattern by Brenda Gervais, and since I already had this pattern by Brenda Keys, I decided to do that during my September time. I started in August, I guess. So the last time I showed you this, I had the row of houses done. I had the two people, the man and the wife, the willow tree, and the words right above the houses done. So I have worked on the border. And let me tell you, there are a lot of stitches in that border. Oh my gosh. There was so much stitching. And the thing about stitching in a border and filling in around the ABCs like that is you have to be super careful about not splitting your previous stitches. Generally, when I stitch something, I like to stitch it from the bottom up. So for example, if I'm doing a house, I'll do the house, and then I'll do the inside of the windows, and then I'll do the window frame last. And I don't know if you can tell, for example, on that blue house, how to me it almost seems like the window frame is a little raised up from the window, which is how it would be in real life. The window frame would be more forward than the background of the window. And I like to do that because I do feel like it does layer a little bit. Obviously you're using the same tension in your stitches and you're stitching flat, but somehow, I don't know, it seems to pop up a little bit more. So ideally I would have done, in this pattern, I would have done the ABCs last so I could do the background and then pop the letters on top, but that would just be crazy. That would take a crazy amount of time, I think, to have to follow and leave spaces for all those letters. It was just easier to do the alphabet and then do the background, but then you have to be super careful. So when you're stitching right next to one of the stitches in the alphabet, you don't want to pierce through that stitch or through that thread. You want to kind of, I try and like pop it kind of under to get into the hole so that I'm not breaking some of the letters in the cross pieces in the corners. And so it's not like you can just do zip, zip, zip and you're done. You really have to pay attention to not ruining the stitches that are already there. So that just took so much time. And it made me think about some of the pieces that, some of the smalls that I've done, and they're so quick to do and they're over before you know it. And I look back on some of these, and you know, I've only been back to cross stitching for I guess 3 years since having stitched a lot in the 80s and 90s. And even some of those earlier pieces that I did, like in 2017 when I first started back in, I hardly have any memory of stitching those because they just went so fast. It was maybe a night or two and you're done. And I love smalls for that reason. And I love decorating with smalls. But the nice thing about bigger projects is I really have a lot of memories tied up in them. I remember what we were doing, what was going on when I was working on that piece. I remember some of the shows that we binge watched maybe. And so I feel like I've stitched more of my own history into some of the larger pieces, which is what makes larger pieces fun. So again, I want a combination of both, small pieces and large pieces, because sometimes the large ones feel never ending, don't you think? But it's fun to have a lot of fun memories built into those pieces. So that is my in progress piece that I worked on. And then I have the sampler roll by Samplers Remembered. And the last time I showed it to you, I had the row of houses done. And you see in the middle of that, there's a house with one dark side to it. And I didn't like that. So I just did all of the houses in the same colors. And instead of finishing this in a roll, although I think that's an adorable creative idea, but I finished this. Let's see if I need to have something behind it. Finish this, and I'm going to frame it. It was super quick to do. Well, not quick like a small, but it was relatively quick to finish. And the ABC on the top and the bottom I loved. And I can't remember if I changed something else in here. I'm thinking I did, but now I can't think of what it was. So I just think it's adorable. And I'm going to frame it because I want it on my sampler wall. And I'm really looking for, so many samplers are, well, we've got squares and rectangles. There's not a lot of horizontally long samplers. So this is going to be good for that, just to add a little variety to my sampler wall. And I'm going to look for some small size samplers, just so I can mix it up and don't have just all the same size and shape of samplers on my someday wall, which is going to take a while to make. So that sampler roll was on 36 count Liberty Gathering Gray, and my Plymouth sampler is on 40 count Zweigart. And I wanted to show you the adorable little thread keep that my friend Becky, Socks for Mom, made to match that blue house that I love. That didn't turn out quite so blue, but it's okay. All right, and then I finished, well, let me just show you these two non-stitchy things that I finished. But it's because I want to put them in my stitchy display. So this is wool applique. I'm going to figure out a way to, well, maybe he looks kind of cute, tilted his head like that. So this is wool applique, and it came out of this book, Buttermilk Basin. And you can see I have my marks in there. I have a lot of things in that book that I want to do. It's just adorable. But I made these because I just wanted some more fun things in my fall displays. And then I just put a backing on it and did a blanket stitch all the way around, but left a hole in the bottom so I could put it in one of these old spindles that I have. And that also is fun because it not only helps it stand, but it gives it some height. So those were super fun to make, very quick to make. Those were one of those 1 or 2 evening projects. And then, okay, last time, remember I told you I was going to use the sulky threads, which come on a spool, 50 yards, yeah, 50 yards on the spool. And I got it at sulky.com, and I think it was $1.69 for a spool. I loved it. I love the coverage it gave me on 36 count. I will definitely use those if I'm, probably for my Harriet Salt sampler, which is huge, one color. I have a new pattern that I'm going to show you in a few minutes that is just 2 colors. So anytime I have a big sampler, I think with a lot of the same color, it's just going to make sense to do that. I mean, it's so economical. And like I said, the reason that I went to that is because I didn't like the coverage I was getting with one thread, one strand of DMC floss on 36 count. But I was liking the 36 count. So I used my sulky on this Gathering Berries from Luminous Fiber Arts, but I did mine in color because I wanted to try a lot of those colors. Now I didn't pre-plan, what I was going to do, so I didn't order the colors in here based on this particular pattern, but I love the coverage. I hope that you can see that. It's a single strand on the spool, and I loved how it came together. I did leave out the buttons. Let's see. I left out the buttons, and I added in some more of the little dooflingle things up here to kind of fill that in. But I like how it turned out. It was a really fun pattern. It's an adorable, look at the little scalloped edging along the top. That's adorable in the border, and how she put some open stitches, I don't know how to hold that so you can see it, in the border, just to give it a little more texture and It's a wonderful pattern. And you can get that on Misty's website as a download, which is how I did it, or you can order a hard copy of the pattern. So I finished that, and it was really fun, and I am a sulky convert now. So I hope you try sulky too. And then, let's see, I've got my list of things. Okay, I'm going to show you this. I finished this. This is an old finish, but it's one of my favorites, so I'm going to show it to you. And this is Quincy by Stacy Nash. And here's what I learned with Quincy. I made Quincy for the Pincushion Exchange at the Shepherd's Bush retreat that I went to in 2018. And he turned out so adorable. I was so sad to have to give him up that I came home and made another one for myself immediately. And here's the pattern. Quincy. And so the lesson I learned was, make mine first. It's a lot easier to give away something cute like that when you already have your own. And then of course I had to buy a lot of the other animal crackers that she did because they're so cute. So let me show you. There's Oliver, and I have a tuxedo cat named Oliver, so I'm going to have to make that one with my Oliver's markings. And then I have Humphrey, and Humphrey has a pocket on the back that you can keep your scissors in. I think I'm just going to make him standable. And then, what does that say? Monroe, the mouse, and he also has a pocket in the back. You know what? I don't need to make them functional. They're cute enough on their own. I don't need them to have a pocket. And then Paisley is the female snowman, and Whitaker is the male snowman. So those are very cute. So, you know, you make one and then you have to buy them all. And then my other finish that has been finished for quite a while, but I'm going to show it to you because I'm talking about the Shepherd's Bush retreat, is this little retreat fob that they came up with. So it says Shepherd's Bush retreat on the front with a little house, and on the back it says A Stitcher's Journey. And they do such a nice job of putting kits together. I have a lot of their snowman kits, but I had never done this little ruching with the ribbon on the edging. So it's got ribbon and beads along there. So cute. So easy to do. But it was nice to have all of the trims and everything in there. And that was another thing I wanted to mention to you. I order a lot of my trim, well, a lot. I haven't ordered that much, obviously. This is how much I've ordered from Lady Dot Creates. But every time I order from them, I snip off a little piece and staple it to the card that has the name of the color on it. Because, you know, they have lots of reds, they have lots of blues, they have rickrack, they have chenille, they have ribbons. So I just keep them all, a sample of each one ringed on here, so that when I need more, I know exactly what to order and I'm not guessing for that. So that's a little tip. Okay, back to more finishes. I did a fully finish on the Bluebird sampler. Now that I'm looking at that and seeing the back, that reminds me. Oh, the front does it too. I hardly ever put extra fabric on the bottom like that. I think I've done that once or twice when I got a kit. And I think it looks really cute, so I might have to start doing that. Again, don't know how to hold this so you can see it well. Anyway, here's the finish. How's that? Again, I just put some chenille around the edges. Typically, I leave a hole in the bottom, I stuff it in the bottom, and then I sew it up, and then I put whatever around the edging. This time I did the back thing where you sew all of your corners, you sew the whole thing together, and then you cut a slit in the back, and then you cover it up with something, so I covered it up with a little felted heart, and I am going to go back to all of these and do the blanket stitch around the heart. I just hot glued it down for now. So, and then I also finished the Redbird sampler, also by Heart in Hand, and that turned out cute too. And I thought it would be really fun to put, actually I think I'm going to put these two and the Luminous Fiber Arts one in a bowl, because those would be fun together. All right, and then I also finished, well, remember last time I showed you this House on Pumpkin Hill by Stacy Nash, and I showed you that finish last time. And when I was showing it, I said, I think I have another pattern that's similar to that. And so I went and found it and finished that one up. And that is Jack's House. They're really not that similar. Both trees, both fall. And so I finished up Jack's House, stitched it and finished it up, which I think is really cute. And I did this one 25 count cream Lugana 1/1, which you know is one of my favorites. So got one new fall pin keep to put somewhere in my house, so that's fun. And then the last finish I have, fully finished, I have showed you the finish before, is Christmas Joy by Barbara Anna. And I asked you how I should finish that. I don't know if it was the first video or the second video. And most of you said to do it as a pillow, which I was totally on board with. I thought that would be adorable. One of you suggested, or two of you suggested, red pom-poms. I thought that was going to be so cute. And then I got it in my head that I want to have a holiday wall. The only thing I couldn't figure out was, how do you do that? If you want to have a sampler wall, if you also want to have a holiday wall, how do you swap those pictures out? Because you'll have all different sizes of pictures, and I can just see how that goes, putting all those nail holes in my wall. So I didn't want to do that. And I was watching Susie Reno's latest video, and she moved into a new house. And in her new house, in the living room or family room or something, there is pieces of molding or very narrow shelves behind the couch, like 2 rows or 3 rows. And I thought, that's it. That's how I'm going to do my holiday wall. So I'm going to find a wall, which, I don't have in my house. I don't know where I'm going to find it. And I'm going to put probably 3 rows of very narrow shelving with a little lip in it. And then I can just set all different frames on there for the seasons. And now, of course, I'm on a rampage to buy all the patterns with seasons that I love. Having said that, that is why I decided to frame this piece instead of making it into a pillow, because I want it for my holiday wall sometime. So again, this is Barbara Anna Christmas Joy, and I stitched it on Frog Belly from Color and Cotton, and I'm pretty sure it's 36 count. And I did stitch it with 2 strands, because typically I would stitch 18 count with 2 strands, and 36 count is basically 18 count. And I usually like a more bold look, and I do like how this turned out. I love the colors. But while I was stitching this, I was also working on something else, 36 count. Now I don't know what it was, thinking maybe it is a little heavy on this. So I like the look, but I don't know if I would do 2 strands again. And what I did discover is, although I think it's a fun piece, I do not enjoy alphabets that are all widge-wodge like that, because the counting about drove me crazy. All those little count overs, and you don't have things that line up. You're counting for everything. So I'm off in here, but you guys wouldn't know that unless I told you, which I just did. So anyway, I'm excited about the holiday wall. And if you haven't watched Susie's latest, go look up Susie Reno on Flosstube, and you'll see just what I'm talking about. It's perfect. And she has a lot of beautiful work up there already in her house, and she goes through each piece, which is super fun too. So, all right, let's see. Next, I've got my list here in front of me, which also is on a stand, and I wanted to show you this because I use this for my stitching, and the nice thing is it folds flat. And I believe I got this from Levenger quite a while ago. But it's nice that it folds flat, has a little lip on the bottom so I can keep my scissor there, and then it has several different options for the back. And I put my magnetic board and my pattern there on the edge of my chair. Also use it for Flosstube notes. All right, I wanted to mention, last time I showed you these adorable wool trees by Michelle of Little Stitches on Flosstube. And I am, every time I do a Flosstube, I learn something. I'm still trying to figure out how to insert photos because I want to show you my happy wall in the basement, which I talked about in my last video. And I wanted to show you my thread cabinet, which is just fun. It's in an antique cupboard. But I don't really know how to insert photos yet. But I'm also learning better that I need to link to these things below because Michelle got a hold of me and she was so excited that so many of you love her trees, and of course you do because they're adorable. But there's some other Michelle87 on Instagram who was getting your messages because how would you know? Because I didn't link to it, and she was not happy to be getting all of your messages. So I will link Michelle below. It's her Instagram account. Follow her on Instagram. I think her Instagram is private, so you just send her a send her a friend request or whatever that is, and then you can order from her. And she does a wonderful job on those adorable trees. So I just wanted to mention that I am going to put that below. All right, I have 3 things I'm going to show you for accountability, and that's because I need to get these framed. I really would like 2 of them are Christmas. I really want them framed before Christmas. And the other one is going to be up year-round. So I'm going to show you these for accountability's sake. And the first one is it's called Our Story by Brenda Gervais. And it says, "Home is where our story begins," which is a saying that I have loved for a long time. I used to do scrapbooking. I had a scrapbooking business, and I remember when that saying came out, I bought those signs for everybody on my team because it was so perfect for scrapbooking and what we did, which was all about preserving your stories of growing up and your home times. So I was so excited about that. So instead of doing this like she did, light on dark, I decided to do she did dark on light. I did light on dark. So I just pulled out, and I think these probably are Victorian motto threads. I just pulled out threads that I liked that I thought worked on this, and I love how it turned out. But it's been finished for probably 1.5 to 2 years, and it's still sitting here. So I'm showing it to you so that you know in 1 or 2 more floss tubes, I'm going to be showing you the framed piece, hopefully. All right, the next thing that I really want to get framed is in this book, Home for the Holidays, and I finished this when everybody was doing this as a stitch along way back. When was that? This piece here, again, I was going to finish it as a pillow because I don't swap out my photos or my pieces around the house for the holidays. No, I'm going to. And this is that piece done. I don't really know what I think it's on Lugana, some kind of Lugana. 25 count 1/1, I believe. And then on the bottom I just continued the row of half snowflakes. In the pattern itself there is a French saying, Joyous Noel, basically, is what it says. And I decided just to, I think they do have it charted also for English. But I just continued along with the snowflakes, which is what the top is. So I just made it go along the bottom too. That I need to have done in time for this Christmas, because really, I've spent 2 Christmases without it now. And then the other one I really want to get framed is this one from Silver Creek Samplers. And I don't remember what this one is called. And it's not written on the front, but I know you've seen it before. And here's my piece. And I believe this is 28 count mushroom lagana, but it's a hand dyed, so it's from somebody. And I think I did 2/2 on that one. And it's so fun. The only change I made is there in the middle, above the presents, next to the dove, it said peace and goodwill. And I didn't know how you could have a Christmas piece without the word joy in it. So I said peace, joy, goodwill. So that's the only difference in this one. So also going to have that framed soon. Okay, and then I have a little bit of haul and some plans and a giveaway and the giveaway from last time, and then we'll be done. So I got an order from 123 Stitch. And so here's what I got. Harvest Time by Lila's Studios. Isn't that fun? And of course I'm going to have to make that cat to match my Oliver tuxedo cat. And I'm going to have to change that girl's hair to my hair color, which will be easy. But it's another one of those cute, quick little smalls that I think is going to be fun. And then also from Lila's Studio, and I saw this on her Instagram account when she was working on it, and I love it. With Thy Needle Too, it's called. And it's another one of those, well, maybe it's not like a Plymouth kind of a sampler, but it has the river, it has the farm, it has this house, 2 ABCs. I just love this. It's going to be a big piece. It's going to take a lot of time. But again, I look forward to some of those big pieces just because I really have fun working on them and enjoying them for a long period of time, and it's almost so much more gratifying to finally frame it and see it done on your wall because you put so much of yourself into it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I got this one because I'd seen several Instagrams. Cindy, I know you shared this on your Instagram, and I think Daleen shared it on her So Grateful Flosstube. Can't remember. Oh, I think Anna, Stitch Roadies, also shared this. This is the one that I was referring to earlier. It just has 2 colors, the red and the green, and I'm sure that I'm going to do it on either 36 count or 40 count with sulky. So I just have to pick my colors, and that's going to be a long project. But the thing about samplers in general and things like this is each little icon is like a finish. So it's very rewarding to do that because you're finishing parts and pieces as you go along. So I love that. And then the other thing I got was Autumn Alphabet by Willow Hill Sampling. Now what did I just say about not liking those alphabets that are all the letters are flung all over the place? But here I go again. But I loved it because I love the blue pumpkin. Now I've heard, or I saw on a Facebook group, I think, that the blue in the pumpkin thread called for does not match the blue here, and I like the blue here, so I'm going to have to play with colors a little bit. But I think that one's going to be a really fun one for my fall wall. I'm going to have to start collecting fall patterns. Okay, so those are my haul. Now, I also received an order, first time order from this store this week, which I'm going to show you the next time. I'm not going to show you today. It is probably my favorite package that I've ever gotten. It came at perfect timing. Our adult son is a software engineer in the Bay Area in California, and he took the train here to visit us in August and stayed for 7 weeks because obviously he's been work at home. It was so fun to have him here for 7 weeks. It was just so fun. And the day he left, I was sad. And I went off to work, worked all day, came home, and I got this wonderful package. So I don't know if that has also flavored my attitude of best package ever, but I might only order from this particular store from now on because I loved everything about the package. I really loved everything in it. I can't wait to show it to you, but I'm going to show it to you the next time. That's kind of a tease, but you know, this is getting long enough. All right, so I wanted to talk to you about, well, one thing I wanted to say about that, it has a pattern in it that I thought if I can get this pattern and maybe the silks, because you know, it's like the ultimate pattern right now for me. If I can get this, I'll be happy, never ordering patterns again. I've got enough stash. I am going to be able to handle, you know, if I just get this one wonderful pattern, then maybe I can stop buying patterns, which we all know is not true. But have you ever had a pattern like that where you just think, wow, this is like the ultimate, and if I find this, I'll spend a long time working on it and life will be good. I remember thinking that in college when I first started cross-stitching, and I had been cross-stitching for probably maybe just a year at that time. And I would go to we had 2 cross-stitch stores in Little Ames, Iowa, Yarn Tree, which is still a big player in the cross-stitching industry, and then another little shop that was in a house, and I don't remember the name of it, but I was there one day, probably de-stressing from finals or whatever, midterms, and looking around, and you know, a college student, you have no money. I had no money anyway. And I found these 5 books, 5 different books. They were, I think there was a Vanessa Ann, do you remember that? Those of you who have stitched for a long time. And a few other designers, I can't even remember. And they were $5 each. And that would be like a $25 or $30 Blackbird book now. And I thought, if I could just buy these 5 books, I would be set in my cross-stitching for the rest of my life, because they're awesome, filled with things I wanted to do. But I couldn't, I mean, there was no way, couldn't afford that. So I told my then boyfriend about it, and who is now my husband of 36 years. And I was telling Paul about it, and I was just like, oh, I would just die to have these 5 books, but they're $5 each, and I just don't have $25. Well, my birthday was like the next month, and I really had not even, I was not planting a seed in his head or anything. For my birthday, I get a card, and in the card were 5 $5 bills for me to go get those 5 books. And it was still probably my favorite stitching present ever, because he didn't have money either, and that would be like a college student nowadays pulling out $125 saying go buy those 5 Blackbird books that you're just going on about. And so it was really fun. But I do know better. I do know that one pattern, one book, one set of books is not going to satisfy me never having to buy books again. But in my haul that I'm going to show you next time, that one pattern comes pretty darn close. So, all right, my plans for what I want to work on. I would love to finish that Plymouth sampler. In my mind, when I work on things, I have a point in my head where I think I'm going to get to that point, and then I'm going to set it aside so I can show it on Flosstube, and then I move on to something else. So in my mind, I would love to get that finished the next time. I only have the fun parts, like all the little pieces in the middle to do now. So I think that it should go quickly, but I don't know. I would also like to work on my Savior's Praise, which I have not worked on since probably the second 2 Flosstubes ago. I haven't picked it up in a while, so I'd love to do that. And then I want to work on this Icy Red Scarlet House, because I got the little paddle to put it on. And who was that paddle person? Homestead Needleworke on Etsy, and Needleworke has an E on the end. That's where you get these wonderful boards. She's awesome. So I want to do that, and this was so fun. I got the prettiest sunflower card in the mail, showed up at work, which was so fun. And this was from Denise in Wisconsin, and she sent me red silk from Silks for You, which is super thoughtful. Thank you so much again, and I am excited to use that. So I am going to use that on my Icy Red. So that's going to be really fun. So I'd like to start that. And let's see if I wrote down anything else. Oh, yes. Yes. So I watched Brenda and Laura, Brenda and the Serial Starter, and I realized I don't have a Blackbird going right now, and that's one of their rules. You know, they have rules that you just don't mess with. Buy all the Blackbirds, always have a Blackbird going. And so I left a comment on their video and I said, oh, I just realized I don't have a Blackbird going. I got to get on that. And then today they responded and said, okay, that was 2 days ago. Have you started one yet? And I had not. So I pulled this out right before the video because I have been thinking about this one, which I love that checkerboard house. I just think it's so fun, and I'm almost in the mood to work on a Christmas one. So I think I'm going to start that one. And I might be subbing out some of that floss because I'm sure I don't, well, maybe I have them. You know, they use a lot of the same ones, but I might try and pick Victorian motto threads for that one. So I'm excited to start that. That's in this book, The Bells on Christmas Day. So those are my plans moving forward. Now we have a winner from the last drawing, which you had to use the word English, not English, garden. You had to use the word garden. And Kathy English, that's why I said that, is the winner of this kit, which is so cute. Comes with the thread, the floss, a cute little ruler to match the pattern. So Kathy, if you will email me, my email is in the box below. I would love to get that out to you. I still have an unclaimed win for Debbie Foster of this one, which comes with floss, finishing suede or wool, and a needle minder. And then I have an unclaimed one from the first video. Really, I have sent 2 out, 2 of the 4 or 5 that I've tried to give away. But this one was unclaimed. So I'm going to do a drawing for this one again because I would love to be sending it out to one of you. And so this time, because I want to read a lot of comments with happy in it, I want you to use the word happy in your comments if you are interested in being entered into this drawing. And as always, don't use the word giveaway or contest because that attracts the wrong kinds of people apparently. So use the word happy if you're interested in that. And now the other thing, and these are just extras that I have, and they're older, so they're not current and up to date, but I have 2 DMC folios that actually have the actual floss samples in them. And I have a newer one, so I have no use for these. And instead of tossing them, I thought maybe there are a couple of you guys who would like these. So if you're interested in one of these, put the word thread in your comment, and I'm happy to send these out. And I will send all over. So if you are overseas, I'm happy to send to you. I appreciate you watching the Flosstube. That's really sweet. All right, question of the day for today. And this came about because I started going through some of the things I have kitted up, and I realized how many different colors of floss I have sitting in kits that I'm I am buying duplicates of as I buy new patterns. It is nice on the one hand to have a kit ready to go. You got the pattern, you have the thread, you have the fabric, and you don't have to stop and do all of that. But on the other hand, I have got a lot of thread tied up. So my question of the day is, do you kit up patterns ahead of time to store in your stash? Or do you pull supplies as you go? I'm guessing some of you do a little bit of each. So I want to know, do you have like 20 things kitted up, or do you have like your next 3 things kitted up? I think I'm going to start working on just kitting up a few ahead of time, not as many as I have right now. And one of my goals is to go through and start using some of those so I can pull that thread back into my thread cabinet, and so that I have it available for future things. All right, I think that's all today. I'm so glad you joined me. Thank you again for subscribing to my channel, for your thumbs up, for your comments. I love being connected to you in this stitchy world. I hope you have a great few weeks until the next time, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.